Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachar Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Girivardhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachar Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Kunja Vihari Jai Gauranitai Jai Gauranitai Gauranitai Jai Gauranitai Jai Gauranitai Jai Gauranitai Jai Gauranitai Jai Gauranitai Jai Gauranitai Gauranitai Jai Gauranitai Jai Gauranitai Jai Gauranitai Jai Radha Vallabha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Gurudev 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 Jai Jai Gurudev 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 Jai Jai Gurudev 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 Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhans Prabhupada Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhans Prabhupada Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anand Koti Vaishnav Vrind Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवसादि गौर भक्तबिंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय यमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय श्री गौनिताय की जय श्री राधा वल्लभ की जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा देवी की जय गौर प्रेमानंदी all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to Guru and Gauranga Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurul Miltam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swayam Padantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Udapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagna Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagna Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Tam Sajivam Vanchikalpatarubhesha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavadamyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurtuse Namah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinbandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishbhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we're going to read from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 9, and the verse is 5, am I right? 4. We'll be reading a few verses today. I have been asked to. Tad deva helanam tasyaha. Tad deva helanam tasyaha. Dharmalikaham sureshvara. Dharmalikam sureshvaraha. Alakakshaha tarasya bhitasa. Alakshaya tarasah bhitas. Tatchi samihi achinnadarushaha. Tatchirsanihi achinnadarushaha. Taddeva helanam tasyaha. Dharmalikam sureshvaraha. Alakshaha tarasah bhitasa. Tatchisanihi achinnadarushaha. Taddeva helanam tasyaha. Dharmalikaham sureshvara. Alakakshaha tarasya bhitasa. Tatchisahani achinnadarushaha. Sureshvaraha. Alakshaha tarasabhitas. Tatsinami achintarushaha. Taddeva helantatam. Dharmalikam sureshvara. Alakshaya tarsavitas. Tadachirsani achinnadarushaha. Matajis. Tadadeva helanatasya. Dharmalikam sureshvaraha. Alakshya tarsavitas. Tarchirsani achintarushaha. Tateva helanam tasyaha. Dharmalikam sureshvara. Alakaksha tarsavita. Tatshirshani achintanadushaha. Tadadeva helam tasyaha. Dharmalikam sureshvara. Alakstasya tarsavita. Tatchisani achintarushaha. That Devahelam, offenses to the demigod. Tasya, of him. Vishwarupa. Dharma alikam, cheating in religious principle. Pretending to be the priest of the demigod, but secretly acting as the priest of the demons also. Suva Ishvara, the king of the demigods. Lakshya, observing. Tarasa, quickly. Bhitat, being afraid that the demons would gain strength by being blessed by Vishwarupa. Tat, his, Vishwarupas, Sriyasani, heads, Achinat, cut off, Rusa, with great anger. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Once upon a time, however, the king of heaven, Indra, understood that Vishwarupa was secretly cheating the demigods. By offering oblations on behalf of the demons, he became extremely afraid of being defeated by the demons, and in great anger at Vishwarupa, he cut Vishwarupa's 3 heads from his shoulders. So we're going to read this. Once upon a time, however, the king of heaven, Indra, understood that Vishwarupa was secretly cheating the demigods by offering oblations on behalf of the demons. He became extremely afraid of being defeated by the demons, and in great anger at Vishwarupa, he cut Vishwarupa's 3 heads from his shoulders. So I've been asked to read a few more verses, and I'm going to read them and read the translation. Soma pitham tu yat tasyaha shira sita kapinjalaha kalavina kava sura pitaham anandam yad satiti krihi. Therefore, the head meant for drinking somaras was transformed into a kapinjala. This is a falcon partridge. Similarly, the head meant for drinking wine was transformed into kava vincha, sparrow, and the head meant for eating food became a titi-3, common partridge. He had 3 heads for 3 different things. Brahmahatyam ajnalinaha jagaraha yad apishvaraha samavat sarayante tad agaham bhutanam sa vishuddhaya bhumi ambudurma yoshi bhiyas chaturdaya vyad jad dharir. Although Indra was so powerful that he could neutralize the sinful reaction of killing a Brahman, he repentantly accepted the burden of the reaction with folded hands. He suffered for 1 year, and then to purify himself, he distributed the reaction for the sinful killing among the earth, water, trees, and women. Bhumi striyam jagraha katha pura varena vai iranaham brahma hatyaya rupam bhumahu prasidhyate. In return for killing Indra's benediction, the ditches in the earth would be filled automatically. The land accepted 1/4 of the sinful reaction of killing a Brahman. Because of the sinful reactions, we find many deserts on the surface of earth. Because deserts are manifestations of earth's diseased condition, no auspicious ritualistic ceremony can be performed in a desert. Persons destined to live in deserts are understood to be sharing the reactions for the sin of Brahmahatya, the killing of the Brahman. So that was the verse, Canto 6, Chapter 9, Text 7. So we continue from 8 tomorrow. So what do we learn from this? What is the lesson from this? So I'll try to give an overview of what is to be coming in the future text. This is basically almost appearance of Vritrasur. So now you can see a lot of people, a lot of religion even actually says that we should go to the heavenly planets. And of the heavenly planet, who is in charge of that? Indra. So even Indra, first what he did was he committed offense to his Guru Maharaj, Brahaspati. Right? He was so much engaged in sense gratification that when he did not respect his spiritual master. Now, So the lesson we have to learn from this is that we have to be careful, with our spiritual master. And who is a spiritual master? It's not only those whom we take Diksha from. In our Sampradaya, Siksha Gurus are more, treated as higher than even Diksha Gurus. It is nice if the Siksha Guru and Diksha Gurus are the same person. But, if you look at Bhaktivedanta Thakur, who was his Guru? But whom do we know him as Guru? He did not take initiation from Jagannath Das Babaji. His Guru's name was Bipindra, something like that. So we, in our Gurus, Siksha Gurus are very important, So we have to be very careful not to offend them, Right? So that's the first lesson, And if you offend them, what happens? You lose everything, Indra and the demigods lost everything. Now one person commits the offense, right? That's the next lesson, The whole family gets affected. All the demigods have got affected and they were kicked out of the heavenly planet, right? So first mistake, offense to the Guru. Then Lord Brahma told them to accept Vishwarupa as Guru, And he did a lot of austerities and prayers and things like that, and the demigods won the kingdom back because they had powerful. Now, what he gave or what he told them was the Narayana Kavach. So, this is how they said you get protected. So how do we protect ourselves? We don't know all the mantras, we don't have the time to do that. So how do we protect ourselves? And? Huh? And? We put tilak on our body. So every morning, after taking bath, now whoever's listening to this class, put tilak on there. Regardless whether you're going to work, you have a shower, you put tilak on there. And this is how we protect our body. This is what Prabhupada has given us. We chant the name Om Keshwaya Nama, Om Narayana Nama, Om Madhvaya Nama. Then we put tilak on there and we put tulsi leaf at the bottom, at the lotus feet of the Lord, So we have tulsi on 12 parts of our body, right? This is how we protect this is our kavach, right? Once Srila Gurudev, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj was in Fiji, and the driver who was going to take him to a program which was quite a bit far away, he was a bit late, he had his own business, so he came, and then he quickly had shower and put on his clothes, and the first thing Gurudev asked, did you put your tulak? He said, no, Srila Gurudev, we are getting late. He said, don't ever do that. It takes a minute or two, to put the tilak on, but you don't know how much danger we are at every moment. This tilak will protect you, Once I was reading somewhere, there is a person who died under a tree, and there was a bed that was sitting on top. So she passed stool and it fell on the forehead, And the Yamdutas came, to take this guy away, And they saw that and they saw that it was tilak, and they left him alone, So this is how powerful this is, So it is very important that we put tilak on. We put this kantimala, it's very nice. But the thing is that this can break, right? But the tilak will always be there. So it's very important to put the tilak. Even you go to hospital, first thing they do is take this out, if there's a serious situation, But the tilak stays on your body. So that is our kavach. Now because of that kavach, right, who was given, I think, initially by Dadichi, right? It was given to Vishwarupa's father, right? Who gave it to Vishwarupa, who gave it to Indra, right? So if you look at it, so Brahma told him, okay, go and accept Vishwarupa as your spiritual master, your priest, because Brahaspati is gone, do all these yagas, whatever you have to do, then you're going to get the ability to actually take the kingdom back. So Vishwarupa, who was he? One of his parents was from a demonic family. He was a demon, right? I don't know whether it was mother or the father. And the other parent was from a demigod. So he had a loving affection for both of them. So while he was doing all these yagyas, that's what he's telling here, that's where we are at the moment, right? He was secretly also offering oblation on behalf of the demons. Right? Now, if you look at Indra, he's a devotee of Krishna. But what kind of a devotee he is? He's a Shukam devotee. You know what a Shukam means? He's a devotee of Krishna, but he also wants to enjoy material opulences. So he wants also to have sense gratification. He's also a devotee of Krishna. And Akam devotees are those who don't have any desire, if they have any issues, they have any problems, they don't go to Krishna. They just want to save him with love and devotion. So these are pure devotees. So the demigods are one of those devotees who are, have material desires, right? So they want to enjoy there. Now you look at it, Indra not long ago offended his spiritual master. And now what he does again? He kills the next one. First one was just offensive. Second one, he kills him, He cuts 3 of his heads, Right? So, why? Because he was scared the demigods will become more powerful and take his kingdom. So this is the difference between, a pure devotee. He doesn't care. He accepts everything mercy as the mercy of the Lord. And while those who are karmis or doing karam yoga, and this is what they are doing, karam yoga, they're doing karam, but they're connecting it to Krishna, they are scared of losing their opulences. And he killed him, right? So, after killing him, his father, he got very upset, just like anybody would, right? And Indra also got a reaction because he not only killed a Brahman, but he also killed his spiritual master, right? So, he got a lot of sins for that, right? And he suffered for a year. He could have counteracted it because of his position, right? But what he did was, after 1 year, then he passed it on to 4 different peoples, 1 quota each. Who were those? Earth, women, trees, and water. Okay, I've got a question for you. When I was reading this, what happens in the water? How do you this? So does that mean we can't drink any of these fizzy drinks because it has all bubbles in there? Does the bubbles mean it is sin? Because that's the sign of sin in there, right? The trees have sap coming out of it that we should not drink, right? Because it should not be taken. they actually worship Vishnu, and Vishnu actually told them what to do. What was this Rishi? Dadichi. So he said, go and get a thunderbolt, right? Made out of his bones. This person was so powerful. Remember when we were talking about the Narayana Kavacha, he was the one who actually gave it. So he was already protected by that. So he said, I'm in his bones, Lord Vishnu told him, and if you take that and kill him, So they went to this person, he said, we need your bones, Just imagine, he go to a person and says, we basically want you dead, because he can't get the bones unless that person is killed, And then, he said, okay, And because he was a devotee of Krishna, he says, it's time to leave the body. Rather than my body being eaten by jackal, at least jackals and dogs, at least it will be better used this way, So he gave his body up, and they made a thunderbolt out of that, And then the war started again. So by this time, because the demigods were protected, they became very powerful, and they were more powerful than the demons, And then the fight started. And all the demons started running away because they could not, they started hitting him, but they destroyed all their weapons and everything, And Vittasur basically was fighting there alone, So prepare a little bit, right, about old age means using a glass, So it's basically Vittasur, the godly demon, right? The Vedic literatures contain many histories meant to enlighten us with transcendental knowledge and teach us valuable lessons so that we can progress on the spiritual path. The Śrīmad Bhāgavatam in particular is filled with such stories. And one of the stories here is about Vittasura. One deals with the demon named Vittasura. Despite playing the role of a demon, Vittasura is actually a very elevated bhakti yogi. He was created in a sacrificial fire to fight Indra, the king of heaven. Vittasura was so powerful that he struck fear everywhere and was able to fight an enemy of demigods by himself. Army of demigods by himself. What makes Vittasura so glorious, however, is not his immense strength as a fighter, but rather his level of spiritual elevation. So this is the most important thing, to understand that he was not only a great fighter, but he was a devotee of Krishna. He was a bhakti yogi. During their battle, Vittasura struck Indra with an iron mace and disarmed him, and Indra loses courage to fight. So in that way, if you really look at it, Indra had actually lost the fight, right? And Vittasura did not kill him, While when the demigods were fighting and the demons were running away, the demigods were shooting them from behind, which is not the right way to fight, The right way to fight is that if you are fighting with somebody, if your opponent does not have a weapon, you give them a weapon and then fight. Not like today's fighting, you just go and bomb a place, whom you're killing, But this was the actual way of fighting, And the demigods were doing that. But here, a demon, is trying to follow the etiquette of fighting, Vita then begins a philosophical disclosure with Indra and encourages him to keep fighting. So he's encouraging his opponent to fight. During their discussion, Vita reveals his status as an advanced bhakti yogi. Just as a person not inclined to die must nonetheless give up his longevity, opulence, fame, and everything else at the time of death. So at the appointed time of victory, one can gain all these when the Supreme Lord awards them by His mercy. So what does this mean? At the time of death, what happens? You lose everything, right? Your fame, your longevity, whatever your bank balance is, your wife, your children, your prestige, your nationality, nothing goes with you, Everything is finished. right? Same way, by the mercy of the Lord, when victory comes, you can get all of those things. But you have to understand it only happens because of the mercy of the Lord, right? Without the mercy of the Lord, nothing can happen, right? So we have to understand that whatever we have, it's only given to us by the mercy of the Lord, If Krishna gives us something, then we can actually have it. Otherwise, we lose everything in there, Since everything is dependent on the supreme will of the personality of Godhead, one should be equipoised in fame and defeation, victory and defeat, life and death, right? So, we should accept everything as the will of the Lord. Whatever comes our way, we should accept it. We should not fight it, Sometimes it's difficult, I had somebody ask me this question, where the husband was not a devotee and the wife was a devotee, and there was a lot of mistreatment, So how do you answer these questions, Should the wife should accept this as a mercy of the Lord and try to, tolerate it, be tolerant? What's the answer to it? So I said, general principle in our is if it is favorable to Krishna consciousness, accept it. If it is not favorable, leave it and keep moving, So you have to weigh this, right? Whether it is favorable to you, And if it is not, then leave it. Because what we have to understand is that, as it will be further discussed, in the coming days as the lectures are given, is that everything is temporary, When Chitraketu, when he loses his son, Narad Muni and Angira, right? They come to actually preach to him. And while they're preaching to him, they tell him, everything is temporary, Before the birth of the child, before the birth of your son, right? He was not your son. And after that, he's not your son. So whatever is happening is temporary. It's for a small period of time, So same thing with us, Our husband, our wife, our properties, everything is temporary. Temporary means, so don't get attached to this, Don't get attached to this body, Don't spend too much time in front of the mirror every time to decorating it. Now, the more you look at it, the more you get attached to it, Keep it simple, Right? Use it, look after it, because you are using it in Krishna's service, you are using in the service of a spiritual master, right? And that's what we do, you don't get too attached to it, So since everything is dependent on the supreme will of the personality of God, one should be equipoised. So we must be, regardless of what the situation is, we should not be, try to at least, make an endeavor to do that, In the effect represented by happiness and distress, one should maintain oneself in equilibrium, without anxiety. One who knows that the three qualities, goodness, patience, and endurance, are not qualities of the soul, but qualities of the material nature. And who knows that the pure soul is simply an observer, and the action of reactions and the qualities should be understood to be a liberated person. He is not bound by the three qualities. So what we have to know is that since we are not this body, the body is affected by the three modes of material nature, right? Since we are not this body, the soul has nothing to do with the body in a way, right? Because body is external energy of the Lord, right? Made of those 24 elements, But, so the soul is entrapped in the body. So it's like you are the passenger in a car, right? You are not the car. And if you can just sit back and relax and just see that everything is working, you are just a driver in the car, then you don't get affected by all these things, right? Pain, suffering, all this comes. People die, you can see that. Everything is happening by the will of Lord. You don't get affected by somebody dying. You don't get affected by somebody being born. Somebody get deceased and everything. At the end of the day, when it's time to go, you don't think of anything, if you are lucky, Yeah. if you get too attached to anything material, as Srila Prabhupada said that if you have a little bit of desire, you go, and you are a devotee, you go to the heavenly planet, and then enjoy there, and hopefully you can go back from there, But the best is, you ask Krishna, to give us enough problems, in our life, I was actually talking to Radhacharan's wife, Krishna Premi Mataji. She said, they're from China, and China has made it so strict, even they can't go back, She has to stay here 5 months before she can go back to her own country, And they have to do like 7 PCRs, like that, It's like hell, They have to get a code within 24 hours of traveling, like that. You don't get it, you can't go, And she's saying, it's so hard, it's so difficult. I said, yeah, it's Krishna's special mercy, See, I said, we get to like this place so much. And when you like this, you want to stay here. If things become easy, If he gets, I said, it's a special mercy. He's trying to make you hate this place so much. Then when you leave this body, I said, don't want to do anything with this place, Please, Krishna, take me, So this is special mercy when actually we have. And we should pray like that, And Krishna is very merciful, He'll help you go through this, He'll give you as much you can tolerate, Right? So, Vishwasura had a deep insight for demon. Despite fighting for his life, he speaks on various principles of Bhakti Yoga. The first is to recognize the fleeting nature of all opulence, fame, relative longevity, and everything else in the world. Understanding the transcendent nature of such things serves as an impetus for one to search for higher meanings of eternal life. The soul is eternal, and thus it needs greater fulfillment than basic bodily pleasures. So that's what we have been discussing. Admitting our dependence, Vishwasura also recognized that everything is dependent on God, on Krishna. And we should understand this. This is probably one of the main reasons. The day you actually understand that we are dependent on Krishna, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, He is the one, our only well-wisher. We are totally dependent on Him. We have no ability to do anything, In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says He gives us remembrance and He gives us forgetfulness, So even me speaking here now, if He doesn't give me the remembrance, I can't speak anything. If He doesn't give me the intelligence, I can't actually say anything, We can't do anything without intelligence, am I right? So everything in that way, this body belongs to Him. It's not ours. We are just in the body. The car belongs, the vehicle is His, right? We are just using it. And even the vehicle, the car can't work unless the super soul is in there, So what are we doing? We can't do anything, We should be just grateful that by mercy of Srila Prabhupada, from our spiritual master, we are able to use this body in some way to save the Lord, Acknowledging our dependence on God is critical elements of Bhakti Yoga. For some, the idea of being dependent of God is frightening. And this is the problem. We don't want to be dependent on somebody. What does dependence mean? That the other person can do anything they want, right? But we should understand that God, however, is very kind and merciful to us. And He will ensure that those who surrender to Him face no difficulties, right? So if you surrender unto Krishna, God, just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, but those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. Chapter 9, verse 22, right? So, as Prabhupada said, as I think Srila Gurudev saying also that, at the time of death, Krishna is so merciful. If you are surrendered, if you have saved Him, whatever you lack, He'll carry you forward, right? As long as you don't have material desires, So the more we do service, and the beauty about Srila Prabhupada is, Prabhupada has a very special position. He is a pure devotee of Krishna. 500 years ago when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and he said that, somebody gonna spread his name all over the world. If you look at, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, the Panch Tattva, they distributed this knowledge, but they only did it in India. Am I right? Then they had to, you look at Srila Prabhupada's position, he did it for the rest of the world. Where it was most difficult, it's so difficult, And I see Radhachan Prabhu preaching in China, man, it is so difficult, It's not just preaching and, you give them knowledge, give them Bhagavad Gita. It's basically spoon feeding them. It's like being their parents, It's talking about all their life, all the problems, right? And now it's more difficult with the lockdown and everything. People are getting all mental and everything, And China is the lowest of all the places, And Prabhupada, by his mercy, he's been doing this all over the world, So we are very fortunate in that way, Thus Krishna encourages us to depend on him, worship him and meditate on him. When we rely on our strength and ability, we are held back by our shortcomings. So as long as we depend on Krishna, we are good. If we depend on ourselves, we are in big problem, When we depend on God, however, he enables to overcome any obstacles we may face in our life and retain whatever we have. Moreover, Krishna assures us that he is our friend, right? So Krishna is our friend. So if our friend, the nature of the friend is it always helps the other friend, Now we every day say, hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Deen Bandhu, he's a friend of everybody. He's a friend of the most fallen. If you look at Krishna's position, he's so great, he's God, he doesn't need anything. And then he comes and becomes a friend of a fool like me, fool like us, So he's there, And, our wife, our husband might leave us, our children might leave us, our parents are somewhere, we are here, we left them, At the time of death, everybody leaves us, but there's one person who never leaves us, our true friend, right? Is Krishna, So if you really want somebody, have friendship, then have a friend that you'll never lose, And there's no one better than Krishna, Krishna says, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me is in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Right? So all we have to do is render service unto him in devotion. Right? This is what Bhakti Yoga is, Serve Krishna with love and devotion. Whatever you do, you try to do it with love and affection. Don't do it out of duty. Try to do it out of love. So how do you do it out of love, For example, if you're doing something, just like for your cooking, don't think, okay, I want to cook. No, think about what Krishna would like to eat, what the weather is like, right? Things like that, what would he like to eat, what would Mother Yashoda cook, like that. Try to find some recipes there, what Prabhupada is to cook, like that. So what pure devotees cook like that, Moreover, Vritrasur also understood the need to tolerate life's onslaught with equanimity. As he mentions, we should be equally poised happiness and distress, since they are both temporary conditions, ultimately outcrusted by God. So all these things is temporary, One day it will be here, tomorrow is gone, As they say, time heals everything, Over time, somebody dies, for a little while, everybody is so, 1 week later, 2 weeks later, 1 month later, you probably even don't remember about it, And people move on. Lord Krishna says, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their dependence in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer season. They arise from sense perception, O son of Bharata, when one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed and break free from this material bondage. So we are actually basically controlled by the 3 modes of material nature. Are we controlled by the 3 modes of material nature? Or is the body controlled by the 3 modes of nature? But since we are in the body, then we are affected by it, But you have to be, you have to actually understand this and try to look at it from a distance, Now, the lesson or the question comes in here is that Indra is a devotee, right? We can understand. And Vritasura is a demon. And how can, he be so elevated, right? So we'll just go a little bit back to just give an overview of what actually basically happens, So in his previous life, Vritasura was a Chitraketu. He was a king. He was a very powerful king. And I think he had 1 million or 10 million queens, something like that, My head goes off to him, I can't even look after one, And he had 10 million, but none of them could give him a son, So he had all these opulence, If somebody had 1 million wives, okay, I don't know, it's 10 million, let's say 1 million, it's still, had that many wives, right? And how big his palace would be, how big his, kingdom be, how much opulence you understand what I'm talking about it, right? He was so powerful, right? And, but he was unhappy. Why wasn't he happy? Because he didn't have a son. And what does having a son mean? Because they are the ones who save you, they are the ones who give you, what do you call? What is the word when somebody dies? Pindadan and all those things, at the time of death, so that when you are, wherever you are stuck, you go on, I have been thinking, you might have the answer to it, this Prabhu. Just, I've been thinking, when Pandu, he was in the Pitralok, right? And then he asked Narad Muni to ask Yudhishthira Maharaj to do the Asma Yag, Why was he there? I'm just thinking now, he is such a powerful, his sons are pure devotees, Kunti is such a, why was he stuck there, Ask your Guru Maharaj, yeah, and then tell me, I was just thinking when I was reading this, but what it means is that people are there, and we may, if you're not a pure devotee, I don't know. Now that actually puts a doubt in my head, do we have to go there, do we need a son to actually help us, So I think we do as much as we can so we don't have to go there, we go back to Godhead straight away when we leave this body, So, Chitraketu, and he was like that, he was quite disturbed, and Angira comes there, Angira, right? Yeah, Angira, am I right? And then he comes there and he asks him about how is everything, and then finally he discloses that he doesn't have a son, so he does some yagya and something, and by that he gets a son from his oldest queen, right? So they have a son, and then, finally, after 1 million wives, 1 million, 10 million? 10 million, right? So you're looking for it, right? 10 million queens, one of them have a kid, And what does the king does? He spends all the time with the son. And who is with the son? The queen, So his affection actually grows for the queen because he's the one who gave him what is most treasured by him. And what happens to the other ones? They become envious and they kill the son, So this is what envy does, So that son gave him so much happiness, but it also gave him so much bliss, And this is where Narad Muni and Angira comes again and they actually preach to him, He said, this is all temporary, right? So he becomes a devotee, He started doing devotional service. He starts chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he gets empowered to travel. And one day while he's traveling, he sees Lord Shiva and Parvati sitting on his lap. And he smiles. Why does he smile? Parvati took it as a small offense. But why did he smile? Because at that time, Lord Shiva was preaching. And he was saying, look at how great Lord Shiva is, He has a beautiful woman sitting in his lap and he's not affected by it, He's still so much focused in his devotion, He's not attached to, women, So he smiled like that, He was smiling at the glory of Lord Shiva. But she took it as an offense and cursed him to become a demon. And that's the demon is Vitvasura. So he was a devotee, When he started doing devotion, he saw Krishna face to face. He saw God face to face. So he was that advanced of a devotee. And he had enough powers to counteract the offense. And Lord Shiva tells Parvati, he could have do it, but he did not do it because this is devotees, They accept everything as the mercy of the Lord. Whatever happens, Krishna wants it to happen. Accept it and try to use that in service of Krishna. And here the same person, he's in demon, he's trying to encourage, Lord Indra to kill him, to fight with him. He loses, he said, hey, come on, this is not the time to worry about it. Come on, pick it up. You hit with that. Indra did not even have faith in what Lord has said, that if he use this weapon, he can kill me, And then he encourages and kills him, And then finally Indra realizes that he had killed not only a Brahman, but a pure devotee of the Lord, And then everybody is happy that the demon is killed, but Indra is very sad. Because everywhere he sees a woman. The woman is old. She's very sickly, she's very thin, and she's chasing after him. Say, wait, Indra, wait, Indra. And wherever he goes, she's chasing after him. And who is that? Sin personified. And then finally he goes to a sarovar, where she can't enter, and he stays there for 1,000 years, He does meditation in there, get purified in the stems of the lotuses. Why? Because that's a place of Lakshmi Devi, so goddess of fortune, he could not go there, And so this is what you're going to hear about in the next few chapters. This was just an overview of what, Try to learn the lessons, just don't try to list this. What is, what we're trying to learn from this, Bhagavad Gita, it gives the principles, Krishna spoke this is what, right? And Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is telling that in the story form, So you have to relate the two, what Krishna said there and what here. And one of the things is, if the demigods are like this, why worship them, The other one is you should worship Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These are the lessons you learn from this. Tick. Any questions? Any comments? Yes. Hare Krishna. Louder, louder. You said? You should always pray to Krishna. We should pray to Krishna not to get rid of the problem, to give us the ability to overcome that problem. So if you have a problem, for example, what is the problem? Give me a problem, then we'll see. What kind of problem are you talking about? Being sick, right? So you can pray to Krishna, please Krishna, I want to go to the temple. If I'm sick, I can't go to the temple, make me healthy so I can go to the temple. I can associate with the devotees and things like that, But you also have to understand that when you are sick, then you can stay at home and you can do more chanting. You don't have to go to the school, So it's, that way you can actually... What you have to do is, whatever the situation is, try to connect it to Krishna and try to understand why this is happening. That's the most important thing. Everything that happens in our life, we try to find out, why is Krishna doing this? What is the lesson for us to learn from that? If you are getting sick, what does that mean? Do you like to be sick? But as long as we have this body, we'll always get sick, right? So what is the lesson? Get a body that does not get sick, right? Isn't that right? So how do you do that? By doing devotional service, by chanting. So the more you get sick, the more you chant, the more you read, the more prasadam you take, and do all this devotional service, then you don't get this body again that gets sick, it does get old, and then you go back to Godhead, and then, you don't get sick, But Krishna also gets sick, right? Does he? Krishna has headache, right? Remember that pastime about Krishna getting headache? Okay, any other questions, any other comments? Are you happy? Did they answer your question? Yes, bro.
It said that Vishwarup had 3 heads, so 1 head for Somaras,
Yeah.
1 head for Ide,
Mm-hmm.
1 head for Vani.
1 head for?
Vani.
Yeah.
So, but then he's a Brahmin, so how can he do that?
He was half Brahman. This is the thing, Brahman does not mean, okay. Lord Shiva's devotees, are they Brahmins? Aren't they? They are Brahmins. But they take ganja and all those things, right? So sometime people do that, because they say, I'm a devotee of Lord Shiva, then I can take whatever Lord Shiva takes, and things like that, intoxication and things like that. Now, we say the demigods are also devotees of Krishna, right? But do you know they drink wine too? Somaras, So, yeah, And he was half demon and half devotee. So what do demons take? Yeah, so, Well, the good thing was he had 3 heads, He was not mixing the 3, We only have 1 head, we take everything from the same one, Yeah. But the thing is that, it is not the right thing, As Prabhupada said, somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, why do Brahmins suffer so much, And Prabhupada said that everyone is not a Brahman. Some of them just are dressed like Brahmins, And they act like Brahmins, but they are not actually Brahmins, If you are in mode, actually you are right. If you are in mode of goodness, that means you are in Brahman, and Brahmins do not take intoxication, right? So we have to understand what kind of Brahman he was. Yeah? Any other questions? Any other comments? That's it. Okay. Grantra Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Sri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Devi ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hare Hare Bol. Thank you, bro.